welcome back to episode 4 of the AJA Sports Show. I'm A. We didn't practice our YMCA today.
Oh, you almost had it.
Sorry, folks. We were gonna, come on. Episode 5, and it'll be down. We hope your day is going A-OK. Thank you for tuning into AJA. This is going to be a special episode, and partly because we're talking about two special things in the sports world today. And there's not much special things going on besides NBA All-Star Draft reviews and trade rumors, and so it's just an NBA special show. We might tickle your fancies with some other NFL highlights, and if you keep with us to the end of the show, we're going to talk about fantasy football tight ends, and oh my gosh, there's more tight ends out there than just these two boys, Travis Kelce, so stay tuned for that. You guys will most definitely learn a thing or two. As always, like and subscribe, follow us on everything. We call out for it a couple of times during the show because we love you as much as you love us, so put the love in, folks. How you guys doing today?
Doing good. Ready to go?
Feeling real good.
Absolutely. I think we're all ready to go here. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. As I said, it's the Monday Night NBA special. So we are going to start off with Hey Now, All-Star Game recap. So we do have some show notes on the side that you guys can't see. It's a little bit behind the scenes. Maybe one day we'll take a picture and post it so you guys could be like, wow, these guys actually put in some hard work. But,
sometimes.
But I wanted to be phonetically immaculate today, so I'm going to read the All-Star Games MVP from my show notes, and his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
There it is.
All right.
Beautiful.
That boy.
If you have any extra hands to give, you can pat me on the back. All right, so this was Giannis's first MVP. Team LeBron pretty much destroyed Team Durant. Although, I mean, Team Durant kind of had a few snafus with missing players and whatnot. The final score was 170 to 150. But Team LeBron won every quarter. So, I mean, it wasn't really that close. A couple of interesting facts about the game, and then we'll kind of just talk about it. But LeBron's fourth game as manager. And Andrew, what's his record?
He is 4-0.
4-0.
Go
yes,
figure.
Sir. Surprise, right?
Yeah, we're all shocked.
Absolutely. There was a Dame Time had a game. He had 32 points, nailed 8 3-pointers, which was, he was just shooting them from wherever he wanted, and obviously him and Chef Curry were kind of going a little bit back and forth. The Chef Curry had 28 points, also hitting 8 daggers from behind the 3-point line, and they were pretty much just behind, half court line. So,
Dames actually was. To
clarify.
Yeah. No, not taking anything away from Steph, but
let's talk about.
He forgot. He does not like Steph. So
let's talk about Giannis, though, Jay. Tell us a little bit about Giannis. What impressed you? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, he made 3 3-pointers, man. Let's go.
What did he do with those 3-pointers?
He made them, which was a huge shock to everybody.
I was setting you up for he took it to the bank.
Oh, he did bank one.
He had a bank joke in his post game, but we are not going to criticize Jay too much. Our main man Jay here in the middle works multiple jobs, so thank you, sir, for holding down, getting the electricity for this sports show to be able to even exist. But
of course, it was a really fun, exciting game. People were hitting 3-pointers because I gotta work. If I didn't have to work, everyone should have not watched because it would have been the most boring All-Star game in the history of All-Star games. It would have been like Domantas Sabonis and Nikola Vucevic backing each other down for 40 minutes. But because I worked, it was a spectacle.
I'd pay to watch that. I'd love that.
Let's cut to back, baby. Let's cut to a Team LeBron highlight while we're still talking about Team LeBron. So let's look at our man here.
Oh yeah,
LeBron James.
Give it to me. I'm here for it. Yes, sir. Outlet. Give it to me. Yes, sir. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, dude. Is this a dunk contest? Did we get the wrong clip?
And we had another dunk. Okay, we just wanted.
It could have been the dunk contest. That was such a great dunk. I mean, he's unbelievable. Yeah.
Vucevic right there with the follow up, but that Curry to Vucevic patch right there, that's a little tongue twister right there. But that was like if you looked on the inside there, Stephon didn't even look at him. That was nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are your guys' thoughts about just the game overall? I mean, it was a Team LeBron win outright, but what did you guys think?
I mean, it was exciting. Yeah, it was one of the better All-Star games. The other activities that occurred weren't as great. The 3-point contest was cool. We'll talk about that in a second, but the dunk contest was lacking. I think it was really cool at the end of the game though, with Damian Lillard scoring the last 11 points. I think that had a little bit to do with what he said after being drafted by LeBron. Those of you who didn't hear, he said that every year they've done, quote, Damian Lillard said, every year they've done the draft, I've been on LeBron's team. And I think it's really cool that he picks me every year. And LeBron only played 13 minutes, only saw the floor for that little bit of time. And seeing Dame close it out with the last 11 points and basically shooting one step inside of half court to seal it to get to that 170 was pretty dope. It was pretty awesome. Made it look super easy. It's not that easy when I try it, that's for sure.
They I think at that point that was the only way you could end the game. It was like, yeah. I mean, we all kind of knew at that point Team Durant was not going to score 50 points to make a comeback. So you had to put a little extra spice for the fans at home, because ultimately this game wasn't being played for the players on the court. It was being played for the fans at home. So
right. There were a lot of great performances. I mean, Chris Paul had 16 assists, and I think ACU talk about it a little bit coming up here as to what that meant for him as an individual type of record-breaking moment for him in the All-Star game. Bradley Beal had a great game. Kyrie Irving had 24, 12, and 5. So just all around the board, it was a really good game to watch. I was able to catch the highlights, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah.
What we're looking at here is some of the we had an image across the screen right there, folks.
Jonnu Sr. Jonnu Sr.
If your eyes deceived you, they did not. These are not the parents you're looking for. All right, so we'll kind of get into a little bit more of the game, actually. Instead of just talking about Team LeBron. I mean, we're not homers or anything, but we do love basketball outright. So this game was, and this just the whole fact that we were having a game. I think the NBA needed to put some precipice on it and some emphasis, I should say, to not just cover athletes, but cover everybody from the refs to just how an athlete gets there, and how historically speaking, it is harder to make it to the NBA if you're from a lower tiered school. If you don't make it to Division I, what are the chances you're actually going to even be seen and noticed? So for sure, this was a nice. They paid homage to historically black and colored universities, so which is cool. The Thurgood Marshall College Fund received $1 million from Team LeBron's team, and then the Team Durant's team was able to net they were going to donate money anyways, but throughout the game they were able to net $500,000 to the United Negro College Fund. But in total, $3 million from the NBA and the NBA, the Players Association, went to help out the HBCUs with COVID, kind of a COVID response package. So that was awesome to see in here. I mean, that was the main highlight, right? If you're looking at it for the feel good stories, that was the the reason you would tune in. If you were looking for the entertainment, well, we'll kind of get to maybe the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, how they may or may not have been entertaining. But the other real cool thing that happened out of this game was the fact that the great Magic Johnson, one of his records finally fell to CP3, Chris Paul. He dished out 16 assists, which was just he was just on it, okay, target acquired, and just hitting those passes.
At pinpoint accuracy.
He passed.
I called it. I said he's a guy that can go out there and he can make some plays.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Magic didn't play a full like career as long as CP3 did. So,
yeah.
I mean, the fact that Magic had 127 is who he was. That guy wanted to make everybody else look good because that also made him look good. And I think that's what how he kind of lives his lifestyle now. But yeah, Chris Paul ended with 128 assists. He's probably going to play in the All-Star game next year too. Knowing him, it looks like he's in good health, healthy enough to make State Farm commercials, right?
Yeah.
Hey, State Farm, sponsor us. We just said your name.
Right.
Okay, so do you guys have any other thoughts about I know the storylines I kind of covered, but any of the in-game matchups?
Well, I just wanted to touch real quick on the HBCUs again. Chris Paul who's the face basically of the NBA Players Association, is a strong advocate for HBCUs. Even had shoes designed after them. Has a lot of affiliation with them. I don't know if people noticed, but the key underneath the basket was decorated and dedicated to the rich history of historically Black and colored universities. The NBA also invited over 300 frontline workers and HBCU students to attend the game virtually. And any of the artwork that you saw displayed on the court was actually designed by seven different students from 3 different HBCUs, which are Howard University, Albany State, and Florida A&M. So really cool. They were able to be super inclusive, donated a lot of good money for a lot of good reasons. And like you said earlier, if there ever was a cause for the All-Star game in the climate such as this with COVID going on, this was a good reason to get behind it and support some really important things going on in the country right now. So kudos to the NBA for that.
Oh yeah, I kind of dig that. I didn't kind of dig that. I dig that quite a bit. Yeah, I think that would be even like maybe they can take it like another step further next year if the thought process is going to stay on our HBCUs. Maybe we can even like see uniforms being like kind of created by some schools and show off some artists that way too. That would be kind of that would actually be pretty awesome to see. I mean, you could even kind of like see integration into like the dunk contest, right? You can even shoot. Someone can wear a jersey from like I don't know their alma mater or whatever. Just I mean, it doesn't have to be strictly Black and colored universities, but I mean, hey, like if you're repping anything for a good cause, then that would, that's something that I think most of us will get behind.
Exactly.
I can go over some of the cheese man, the gossip from the NBA All-Star Weekend if you
love to hear it.
The Jazz players weren't too happy about being picked last, which I mean, okay, whatever. Don't be happy. LeBron went out and was like, he said it during the draft that we didn't pick the Jazz when we were growing up in video games. Donovan Mitchell took offense to it and said, I don't want to be rude, but I really don't care. People have been talking S-word, or a family clean show here, about me for a while. We're not doing this to seek the approval of him, LeBron James. Let's calm down a little bit, huh?
I mean, I think Donovan Mitchell is still a little mad from being ejected like 4 days ago or something like that. I call him the Don, but is he like thinking he's a part of the mafia now? Like,
I don't know.
Like, you gonna put a hit out on King LeBron here?
I mean, you're the number 1 seed right now. Great job. You played well in the All-Star game. Great. Okay. You didn't get picked first. Like, it's like the little kid in school crying about not being picked first. Like, you didn't get picked first. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
and you're French big man in a game with all these, prolific passers and just great talented players made, he had several opportunities for alley-oops and made them look like just boring. I've never seen somebody make alley-oops look so boring. And Rudy Gobert just absolutely he had passes from Nikola Jokic for an alley-oop that he made look boring. He had a pass from LeBron that LeBron threw down onto the ground and bounced up into the air. It's just boring. And I know he's a big guy, but I mean, this is why you got picked, last in the All-Star draft, you're Donovan Mitchell, you scored 15 points, good for you, but your team as a whole shot, 37% from the field. Like, it's the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't get it. I mean,
yeah.
I think this is probably the only time that Donovan Mitchell and, that Utah Jazz team can, puff up their chest and say like, "Hey, we're the best," and why didn't you, choose us to be the best? But I mean, it's the All-Star game. Everybody that was invited there, except, I mean, besides like the reserves and then Conley, who was the reserve to the reserve. But I mean, everybody deserved to be there, even the guys that were the reserve. So do we have to like coddle your feelings and just like say in no particular order this is what Team LeBron and Team Durant did? Like, are they supposed to do the draft behind the scenes and not not actually have a like, come on, it's just an NBA All-Star draft. Donovan Mitchell, it's
Great.
okay. It's okay to be sad. So let's talk about the 3-point and contest and the dunk contest. So if you watched it, they did the 3-point contest before the NBA All-Star game actually started.
I just read your tagline. I'm so sorry.
We're still talking about the All-Star game. We still are. 15 minutes in, and not every second has been dedicated to the All-Star game.
No.
Jay,
No.
Give Ace some credit here. He's led a pretty thorough show of important, like, landmark things that are happening on in the world. Okay,
I'd say so.
Agreed.
So the winner was was a repeat champion from 2015. It was Stephon Curry. The first round he had 31 points total in his racks. I think he nailed one or two of the Mountain Dew, like long range, like 5 or 6 feet behind the 3-point line shots. He beat out Tatum and Mike Conley in the final round, and then in the first round, Jaylen Brown, Don Mitchell, Zach LaVine didn't make it to past the first round. But I mean, it was entertaining in the last round. I mean, it is 3-point shots, so I mean, ultimately, like, you want to see, like, if you're gonna watch it, you want to see him being made. And I mean, Steph was making them. He did rally at the end to win it, so like that was like prime TV. It was a little bit better, I would say, than watching the dunk contest. Anthony Simons from the Portland Trailblazers kissed the rim. Kind of, sort of.
He kissed near the rim.
He kissed
towards the rim.
It's it's when maybe this is British, but there's a couple cultures out there where you just kind of kiss the air around the person or the object or the thing. He beat Obi Toppin and Cassius Stanley. If you're watching the dunk contest, like, for shame, because it wasn't really good. I mean, what do you guys?
Cassius Stanley's dunk was the best dunk of the entire night,
and he got a 44, right?
Yeah,
that one,
he got a 44 on it.
Yeah,
He rose up to front side of the rim, went between his legs with a left-handed offhand finish, and the one thing I have like an issue with the dunk contest, if I can kind of just make this take real fast, I think there's a lack of creativity. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I think it might be time to retire the old, like, slap on a jersey of a former player and, like, recreate a dunk. Because I feel like anytime it happens, the recreation of the dunk, and, it's kind of like, of course it's not going to be as good, but it's never really, like, not as exciting. It's cool to see those kind of things, but it's never executed like how that, like, how the former player of the jersey that like the current dunker's wearing. So maybe it's time to kind of get rid of it, because Anthony Simons did that with T-Mac, and it just, the execution wasn't there. It wasn't the same dunk. It was similar. So I just think if we're going to do it, like, it's getting a bit stale, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. And I'd like to see more creativity instead of just Anthony Simons jumping as high as he can. But
I mean,
it was cool. All right.
The great Tracy McGrady, I think, who once scored like 12 points in 7 seconds in an NBA game,
or like 13 or 11 or something stupid,
something like that, like something ridiculous. Like T-Mac, who deserved a little bit better than that. I mean, I like nostalgia, don't get me wrong, but I'm not watching nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. I mean,
I'll just go to YouTube and type in the Tracy McGrady dunk.
And this was a shorter dunk contest, right? So I mean, you only really have 3 dunks to just, like, if you're gonna do nostalgia, you do creativity, and you just do absolute like athleticism, and then maybe I'd be happy with that. But it was just kind of a meh. Like, I watched it because it's my job to watch it, but I mean, I didn't get a kick out of it. So
I think if Anthony Simons would have actually kissed the rim, you just give it to him. He just won it.
100%.
Yeah, I'm saying if he would have actually like lips meet the metal, bang, give it to him.
Do we even think because the judges voted on the last round there? They said they voted 3-2 for Anthony. I mean, was it even 3-2? Would you say? I didn't
think Toppin's dunks were very good. Personally,
I think to me it should have been maybe 4-1. But I mean, I know we're just like pulling
hairs,
hairs here, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. This YouTube show, the AJA Sports Show, has already been more satisfying to watch. No, I'm just kidding. We're just a bunch of scrubs here, but
no.
Watch us anyways, because you know what's the most important thing in life? Let me go back to me. Scrubs save your lives. Whether it's scrubbing for germs, whether it's scrubs on the nurse or your doctor's wear. I mean, handling bacteria and saving lives. I mean, what could be better than that, folks? So just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are going to pivot from our All-Star game here. Unless you guys have anything else you guys have any hot takes you forgot to share?
No, just about Steph Curry. Every time I think about him in shooting contests now, all I can think about is that video from December where he's just yanking 100. I think he made 105 in over 5 minutes and didn't miss. So when he won, I got off of work and I was like, oh, what's the first thing? The last thing I need to check is who won the 3-point contest, because it's pretty rough. Great.
Surprise.
Just want to put that out. And if you haven't seen that, it's unbelievable.
I mean, it was cool though. At his post game, acceptance speech, he basically dedicated the win to Klay Thompson, his Splash Bros. I mean, who hasn't obviously had that big injury to derail his whole season. So that's cool. I mean, it's hard not to like a guy like Steph, but I guess Johnny's found a way.
No, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we have time.
I mean, I like to watch Steph shoot, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy a little hot takes. The tea might be warmer next time when Jay talks about Steph Curry. So maybe not as spicy, but we have Blake Griffin to Brooklyn. I mean, we kind of we knew he was going to go to a contender. He signed with the Brooklyn Nets for the vet minimum of $1.2 million for the rest of the year. He has his buyout from Detroit, so it's not like he needed any more money anyways. He will wear number 2. I don't know if that is going to be like a foreshadowing of number 2 things that he's going to be doing there. That was a bathroom joke if you didn't catch it. So I wrote down in my show notes, Brooklyn's biggest hole to me is defense. Jay, does Blake Griffin do anything for defensively that is going to take the second unit for Brooklyn to a better place? Is it maybe even just his presence alone? What are your thoughts on that, Jay?
No, I think we kind of talked about it last time a little bit, and Blake Griffin is not that defensive rim protector that we once remember him to be. His athleticism has dropped off dramatically due to the injuries that he's experienced over the recent years. At the rim, I remember last time I said, you're finishing 71% at the rim against Blake Griffin. So just go there every time. If you see him in the paint and try to get one up, there's a 75% chance that you're going to go ahead and you're going to finish based on that.
I was hoping you'd say that stat again, because that is a healthy stat for anybody to remember. And it's probably just the most important stat. Just attack the rim if you see Blake in.
Yeah.
Okay, so all three of us here are Los Angeles Lakers fans. We kind of said it in the first show. What do we have any flashbacks to 2003, 2004? When the Lakers lost to the Detroit Pistons in the finals.
Oh, and the semblance of Hall of Fame caliber talent with Gary Payton and Karl Malone. I mean, I guess it's similar to it. This move kind of happened really quickly, but it wasn't a surprise considering DeAndre Jordan was there, who was his former running mate. I guess I just wonder what the starting lineup's going to look like going forward, because at least with those with Payton and Malone, they were starting. So I don't know if it's going to be any different. Maybe they go with, they have Joe Harris on the bench, or they have Joe Harris sitting there. So now you add Blake Griffin into the mix, another big man. It's just kind of where the piece is going to fit. They're sitting second in the East right now at 24-13. So, I mean, I guess theoretically you could help, but I'm not really totally sure where.
Yeah. So if you I was reading Adrian Wojnarowski's article on ESPN today, and it was pretty interesting to see the stark differences that it seems like. I don't know if the Nets and Blake were just not on the same page initially, but per Woj in that article, he said the Nets imagine Griffin as a small ball center alternative off the bench. That's a quote from Woj's article. And then on a response from Blake Griffin's Ask Anything account, someone asked him why he chose Brooklyn over LA. He specifically said, again, this is a direct quote from him, they need a 4-man. So does he anticipate himself starting and the Nets don't? I mean, right now they're starting with KD healthy. Their starting lineup is Harden, Kyrie, Harris, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. So, I mean, I don't see how Blake Griffin plays into that.
Yeah, you're definitely not benching any of those starters.
No, I mean, I think people will automatically say, and it seems like Blake kind of did say Joe Harris. He plays such a huge part for them with his spot up shooting. DeAndre Jordan doesn't stretch the floor at all. And then every single person of that 1 through 4 stretches the floor, can put the ball on the deck, can make plays for themselves and others, and can shoot off the pass or off the dribble, which is very important and allows them to go ahead and drive and kick. And that type of penetrating offense is something where Kyrie Irving and James Harden really thrive in. And then when you add shooters like KD and Joe Harris, it's pretty much it's exactly what the Nets want to do. Especially when you look at who's their coach, Steve Nash. I mean, that's what this dude did. They just surrounded him around a 4 that can move and shoot the ball with Amari Stoudemire, and had a bunch of shooters on the outside. So, interesting dynamic, don't y'all think?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of said this take to myself though. With Brooklyn, I don't know if it's just too much going on there, but for some reason I think they clicked kind of too quick and maybe aren't going to handle adversity pretty well. I think teams that can give them that adversity in the playoffs are like Miami, who had a fantastic postseason last year, but just gritty teams I think can kind of hit them with an uppercut, and maybe they don't respond as well. I just think that there's been a little bit too much going on with them, whether it's the Kevin Durant injury, whether it's Kyrie and his burning of the sage, whether if it's just James Harden earlier in the season just going out to, I think, clubs and whatnot, and just, kind of getting himself in a little bit of the mud there in Houston. I don't know. I just don't believe in them. If you're from Brooklyn, I'm pretty sure you're listening to this and you're just like, that guy is a fool. I have been known to be foolish from time to time, but it just doesn't feel right. But I mean, what am I to know? I just watch, basketball for a living because this is my job.
Let's go.
Just kidding, folks. We're all doing okay here in our little man caves.
Enjoying life, man.
So trade talk around the NBA. There are some cards that will probably be shuffled here and there. I think some of the big moves have already happened this year, but we'll see. I mean, there are still some big names out there that might be able to might be moving. So, Jay, how about you talk about Andre Drummond potentially moving from getting a buyout from Cleveland, and then there are some teams out there. I'll let you talk about him, but we also have Eric Gordon from Houston possibly getting bought out. Oladipo to Golden State rumors. DeMarcus Cousins is a free agent still. I think he might be planned for the Lakers. There's been some rumors there. Vucevic, Nikola from Orlando, because they're not doing too hot right now. We have some Boston and Charlotte rumors, but let's start with Jay. Jay, Andre Drummond, what's going on with what do you think is going to happen with him?
Yeah, so Cleveland's still looking to trade him right now. It doesn't look like they're getting very many offers around the league. So this is leading to most people assuming that he's going to be bought out here soon. Mark Stein stated that he thinks that the Lakers are like cautiously optimistic that if he were to be bought out, they would be the number one contenders to sign him, which is why I thought Blake Griffin going to the Nets was absolutely great if you're a Laker fan. I talked about it the other day on the show. I don't see how he would have fit with the Lakers anyway. Andre Drummond is a much easier bring in terms of what the Lakers are looking for. Again, I kind of mentioned it. AD doesn't play the 5. Drummond plays the 5. Drummond is a excellent rebounder. He's a great defender. He brings a defensive rim protecting presence that Blake Griffin just doesn't. So when I found out that Blake Griffin went to the Nets, I was so excited. I'd rather have Drummond than Blake. I'd rather have Drummond than Cousins. I don't even think that's a question. The other guy you mentioned that was a little interesting was Eric Gordon, by the way. Just that fun.
Yeah, just some. Houston said that they're not looking to buy out his contract, but I mean, if Houston has to make a statement about that, then that means something's in the air there. I don't know if it's going to happen per se. Maybe the least likely of the rumors that we've been hearing so far. But Eric Gordon, yeah, I mean, he's a pretty decent scorer, so I could see him helping out helping out a team for sure. I think I'm probably most curious about Oladipo to Golden State. Golden State's got a pretty decent record right now, so I don't know. If they bolster their lineup a little bit, I could see them, giving the Lakers a good defense against their, repeat of their titles. And then Andrew, do you have who are you looking at on these trade rumors? Who's caught your?
Yeah, the only guy I kind of really see maybe on the move, but maybe also not seeing him on the move is Nikola Vucevic. He's had 2 back-to-back pretty outstanding years, averaging well over 24 and 10. Boston has been mentioned a couple times, and Boston's kind of been in the market for a big man for a little while now. Unfortunately, they've kind of exhausted their assets, kind of trying to get other pieces, and when they got Kemba. So I'm not sure what they have to work with in terms of a possible trade, and Orlando's kind of stated that they don't want to move him, but they are 14th in the Eastern Conference right now, and they're 13 and 23. I'm sure Nikola Vucevic at age 29 will, probably want to be on a contender at some point. So maybe Vucevic, but again, Orlando isn't necessarily looking to move him at the moment, so it might take a mighty offer from Boston, and I'm not sure what Orlando would want in return, but a change of scenery might be good for the big man. So
doesn't it seem like Boston is always in some kind of sweepstakes every year, and then they get nobody? Right?
Exactly. It's the power of Danny Ainge. The power of Danny Ainge.
It just, you had so many opportunities to to take the shot, and there it is. You know what I'm saying? Like every time, the Boston Celtics are left with their draft picks that they so covet sitting there.
They whiffed on Anthony Davis last year too, so maybe they.
Seriously, look at what the Lakers gave up for Anthony Davis, and imagine him in Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, you might have had to get rid of one of those guys, but I don't think it would have costed you getting rid of all of them. I
agree with you. I think maybe like a couple of hours ago, there was some speculation about James Wiseman from the Warriors. The Warriors are talking about moving him or their top 3 pick this year to the Timberwolves, but they want a star. So again, a lot of this is just conjecture because a lot of it's not going to actually go anywhere. But is anybody going to trade a star for Wiseman or top 3 pick this year?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't.
No.
Yeah, I'm on board too. They're not gonna. That doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. So let's throw the confetti in the air. Welcome back, Dak. Dak Prescott finally got a deal. This is 3 years, third year in a row, I think, that we've been, hearing rumors about Dak Prescott getting his money.
Right.
Signed a 4-year, $160 million deal, 126 guaranteed. I saw some speculation though that it's potentially a 6-year deal from Adam Schefter. I don't know if that's going to the update to see that, but I know that they were kind of going back and forth on the years, so maybe they're conditional player options for the other two if we do get more information tomorrow, because this did kind of drop not too long ago.
Hot off the presses.
Obviously, I think we all like Dak. Any thoughts on Dak?
So yeah, I can go. He turned down that 4-year, $160 million deal a few years back, and I remember in the last show, I was kind of like, "Oh, that's not good." Well, he kind of stuck it to me. I mean, he turned down a 5-year, 175, and he kind of stuck it to me by getting a 4-year, 160. An interesting note: no trade, no tag clause, so no more franchising tag for Dak, which I'm sure he's happy to hear about. He also signed with the largest signing bonus in NFL history. So he's number one at $66 million for his signing bonus, which is pretty fantastic. I think we've already talked about how great he is for this Dallas offense and what it looks like without him. But just in case you forgot, let me go back in my little notes here and let me let you in on him. Dallas with Dak, points per game, 32.6. Without him, 21.1. Yards per game with Dak, 488. Yards without him, 319. Passing yards per game with Dak, 381. Without Dak, 205. So is it overpaying? Sure, it's overpaying. But when you're the franchise quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, as the Dallas Cowboys, you need to do whatever you can to keep that guy there. It's so much more than just winning football games, and he already does that to a pretty good extent. He's a model citizen off the field and pretty much is a focal point in terms of that Dallas market. I just don't see how you would have let him go. So
right. Yeah, that signing bonus. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ace.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm just hoping he heals up properly. I'm sure with modern medicine he'll be just fine. I don't know if he's gonna be ready for the beginning of the season with that injury we saw last year, but yeah, I'm super happy for him. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, that signing bonus is just outrageous. I mean, $66 million right off the cuff just for signing your name. I mean, to get to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys for 4 years. He's making $9 million in base salary. So if you take that, if you total those together, it's $75 million in year one. I don't think we've ever seen anything remotely close or even maybe half of that in a single season for a player in the NFL. Mike McCarthy is going to desperately need him. He's going into his second season as head coach, and we saw, exactly what happened when he went out. I don't think at any point Jerry and Steven Jones over there in Dallas want to be running out Andy Dalton ever again. And just to touch on kind of like his production and stuff and what he's been able to accomplish, he only played in 5 games last season. He had 12 total touchdowns, only had 4 turnovers, and in 3 of those 5 games, he had over 450 yards passing. And Dallas needed every little bit of it. He's invaluable to them, and the contract kind of justifies that. He's going to be returning to a team just absolutely loaded with offensive firepower. You talk about Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, a healthy Blake Jarwin, even a guy like Tony Pollard who can help out in the backfield. So Mike McCarthy will definitely have a nice plethora of options to look forward and to probably win. He should probably win the division next year. Almost no excuses at this point. That NFC least division. So good for Dak. Well, I'm glad he got his money.
We'll definitely cover the NFC least, closer to start of the season later on in this offseason. But yeah, I mean, we'll cover some offense. We'll cover a little bit their defense outlook. But yeah, I mean, I think they do win that division probably. I think they do. Without him, they didn't. But yeah, it was very, very crappy division last year. So
yeah.
Okay, so thus concludes our NBA and Dak Prescott special. We're going to pivot now to fantasy football. We're going to highlight tight ends today. So I asked the guys to give it to me quick here. There's no time limit here. We're just having a good time and just sharing knowledge with you guys. We're just going to go over everybody except Travis Kelce because we've given him his due and his props, and he should be undoubtedly the number 1 tight end off the board. Probably in terms of receivers off the board, he'll probably be like the 2nd or 3rd receiver off the board. He is that good. So we're going to talk about 2 through 15. We're going to share some. I'm going to share some stats, and I'll have these 2 gentlemen share their thoughts. So to start us off here, we have George Kittle. So his only healthy season was 2018. That was his breakout year. He played 14 games in 2019, 8 in 2020. What is the over-under? Does he play 14 games next year? And remember, he was drafted very high. So is he worth the risk in daily fantasy? Over under 14 games. Jay?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. He's a guy who even last year when he was injured was trying to tough it out and come back to a team that was woefully behind in the standings. So I'm going to definitely take the over. In his 2 healthy seasons, 2018, 2019, 80 plus catches, over 100 yards and 5 touchdowns in each of them. The tight end position is so top heavy and so demoralizing as you start to scroll down the roster list there. You'd be pretty hard pressed to find many tight ends you want to play before George Kittle. And in my opinion, there's only one. That's Travis Kelce.
All right, A, what do you think?
I will also take the over. Johnny mentioned his grit and determination to get back on the field, which is promising. Hopefully, injuries happen across the NFL all the time, and San Francisco caught the bug last year, so hopefully that just eludes them this year. He's a clear-cut second best tight end in the NFL, and there's a drastic drop after that. So if you're looking for him, I'd probably say in season long, because that's where I'm going to probably hang my hat at. I'd say maybe 3rd or 4th round, be the second tight end taken after Kelce. But I'll say over for George Kittle.
Okay, so Mark Andrews, last season he went 58 for 701 and 7 touchdowns in 14 games played. Over under 8 touchdowns, and I say 8 because he only played 14 games. Over under, what do you think, Andrew?
I'm gonna go over on this one. According to Fantasy Pros, he's the number 4 tight end going into next season. He's going to be entering a contract year, so I would expect him and assume he's going to play rather well as long as he stays healthy. Lamar Jackson loves to look his way. 7 touchdowns seems about right where he's going to be at, and if it's he was rather close to 1,000 yards. Or I'm sorry, no, he wasn't.
700 yards.
700 yards in 14 games, so I could see him getting well close to that. And so I'll take the over on Mark Andrews for the 8 touchdowns.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll also take the over. It's a little roll of the dice. It pretty much, Andrew stated it. It's whatever you think Lamar is going to do is how you can project out Mark Andrews. Actually, pretty interesting. I found last year he had 7 touchdowns when Lamar Jackson had 26. That's a 27% touchdown percentage on Lamar Jackson touchdowns. And then the year before when Lamar won the MVP and Mark Andrews had 10 touchdowns, Lamar threw for 36, which is an exactly 27% touchdown share on Lamar Jackson touchdowns. So, you can pretty much bank on about 25 to 27% touchdown share from Mark Andrews. So if you think that Lamar Jackson is going to have a good season, which I do, I think that you can assume that Mark Andrews will have more than 7 touchdowns.
Okay. Darren Waller, he followed up breakout season 2 years ago with one last year. 107 catches for 1,196 yards and 9 touchdowns. He has not missed a game since 2018. Just another fact there. But over under 100 receptions. Can he break it for 3 years in a row? Andrew?
It's hard to project a tight end to reach that mark, but doing it consecutively already and being on an offense where you have Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow as the next 2 pass catchers on that team, I would imagine that Darren Waller sees this, even higher rate of targets next year. And so I'm going to take the over on that. Little quick thing about Darren Waller. He's really versatile. In the last 2 seasons, over 50, he's great after the catch, and over 50% of his yards have come after the catch in both 2019 and 2020. So as long as he stays healthy, I think he'll get well over 100 catches. Derek Carr will look his way.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing there is Derek Carr, right? I mean, we've heard rumblings about the Raiders maybe wanting to move at the quarterback position and not being too happy with Derek Carr and his play. I think Derek Carr is a very good quarterback. Over the last 2 seasons, Darren Waller has seen a 74% completion percentage on throws from Derek Carr, 145 targets last year and 117 the year before that, as Asa mentioned. So definitely I'll be taking the over at that completion percentage with that many looks, with a guy who's as accurate as Derek Carr is and who really likes to target the middle of the field in the short passing game to avoid sacks. I definitely think Darren Waller can get over 100 catches.
T.J. Hockenson, 67 receptions last year for 723 yards and 6 total touchdowns. Targeted 101 times over 16 games. What's the over-under on targets? Do you think he can hit 90 targets next year without Stafford throwing him the ball?
Yeah, see, 90 targets is not a small amount of targets. That's a lot of looks. I think if Jared Goff was bringing over Sean McVay and bringing that boot action style, get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback quickly, I can see TJ Hockenson getting there. Unfortunately, he's not. His first season, he played 12 games. He only had 32 targets. 32 catches. I apologize. So, no, I'm going to go with the under on the 90 targets.
What do you think, Andrew?
I'll also take the under there. A lot of the reasons that Johnny stated are kind of why. Jared Goff is not my favorite quarterback. He was, unfortunately, the guy I had to start in season-long fantasy all year last year. And TJ Hawkins is a really good tight end. But 101 targets for only 67 receptions. I would like to see a higher reception percentage for those amount of targets. But I'll take the under in this situation with a new quarterback and a new head coach in Dan Campbell.
Mr. Noah Fantastic. Noah Fant. He played 15 games last year. He caught 62 receptions for 673 yards and 3 total touchdowns. He was targeted 93 times. Over 15 games, he had 673 yards. Do we think he can break 700 yards receiving next year, guys? What do you think, Andrew?
I'll take the over here. He, like you said, he did miss one game. Drew Lock missed a couple games, and one of those games was also a throwaway where their backup running back was starting as quarterback. I think we've mentioned that a couple times. I don't like Drew Lock. He stinks, but I think just having that extra game, he won't necessarily get close to the 1,000-yard mark, but I think 700 is pretty doable for a guy like Fant who'll see a lot of time in the offense. So I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the over there, and I agree with the sentiment about Drew Lock being absolute cheeks. An NFL quarterback threw for a 57% completion percentage last year, and he played like a lot.
Yeah.
It was 64 the year before that, which is okay, a little below average to be honest, and then 57 last year. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, so Mr. Steve would say. I'll reluctantly take the over just because he was so gosh darn close last season. And I can't imagine Drew Lock throws for a 57% completion percentage again. So I'll take the over.
We're going to be talking about Dallas, but not Dak. We're going to be talking about it's Dallas. Goedert. Zach Ertz probably being shipped out of town. It looks like the vet wants to probably not play second fiddle to Dallas Goedert. So what are we thinking on Dallas Goedert here? His stats last year were 46 receptions for 524 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he only played 11 games. I'm asking the guys today, over under top 5 tight end, Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a leap of faith, baby, and say that Dallas Goedert is going to be a top 5 tight end. I know. Let's go. Yeah, Zach Ertz is going to be gone more than likely. That's what it sounds like. He's going to be out. Jalen Hurts. It was reported today on ESPN that Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, wants to build around Jalen Hurts. Doesn't want a quarterback competition. That Jalen Hurts is going to come in, be the starter. Again, Dallas Goedert, like all other tight ends, he works the middle of the field, but unlike all other tight ends, he's great at doing so. Is able to work the zones in the middle of the defense really well. Jalen Hurts is going to need to get some easy completions for him. I think if they take the offense and really try to tailor it towards him going into the season, it's really beneficial for Dallas Goedert. The tight end position had a ton of injuries this year, a ton of really low plays that just did not pan out for us. And I'm not saying we're going to see something like that next year, but if we see 1 or 2 injuries, 1 or 2 guys underperform, all of a sudden Dallas Goedert slides into a top 5 tight end.
Before Andrew goes, I'm going to stop the music. I'm going to pause real quick. I think this is where you get fantasy content at its finest, though, because I think if you look at the numbers, this is off the cuff here, but 46 catches for 524 yards. It's a little over 10 yards a catch there and 3 touchdowns over 11 games. You look at that and you're like, why is Jay thinking he's going to be a top 5 tight end? But this is why you got to watch the games, and this is what we do. We watch the games, and I think it's just the eyeball check. I think that's leap of faith isn't so much of a leap of faith. I think him being healthy and just being like the main component there in Philadelphia, I think I could agree completely there. I just wanted to dap up Jay from afar and just say, hey, thank you for
there it is.
Attaboy. Thank you for really doing your homework, because it wasn't just looking at, going on Fantasy Pros, which is our number one site that we go to for stats. But it was also just watching the games, and Jay watched the games last year, and then that's enough of me. Let's go to Andrew.
That boy, tried to watch my fair share of Dallas Goedert last year. I've been trying to watch him a lot throughout his entire career. My problem with Dallas Goedert is he played 11 games last year. He hasn't played a full season since he came into the NFL. So that's one of the problems that I have. So I'm going to take the under on a top 5 tight end, but I think top 10 is very much in play. I think the top 5 are not necessarily solidified, but I think there's a good amount of 5. You talk about Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller. I don't think Goddard's the 5th one to slide in there. Not this year, but I still think he's a very viable and season long. I'll take the under.
We're going duck hunting here in Los Angeles with Hunter Henry. 60 catches for 613 yards, so about 10 point something per reception there, 4 touchdowns over 14 games. He was targeted 93 times by Justin Herbert, and Tyrod Taylor played 1 game last year. So this is a little bit of a leap, but if he plays a full season, I think he could do it. Justin Herbert effect, 100 yards, 100 targets next year, over under there, guys.
I'll take the over here as well for Hunter Henry. I really like Hunter Henry, even though he plays in the same division as the Chiefs. 93 targets is a lot for a tight end, but he plays a lot of games. Justin Herbert and the Chargers love to throw the ball, and so Justin Herbert effect, as we have in our notes here, I think will definitely be in play, and he'll get those 2 extra games and get the extra targets he needs to take him over that.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert having a full offseason, so long as the Chargers bring back Hunter Henry, I think he's a free agent this year. So they're either going to have to tag him or re-sign him. I totally see that happening to try to have as many weapons around, young Justin Herbert as you can. When you look at it, Asa did mention that he had 93 targets in 14 games last year. That's a 6.6 projected targets per game. And then if you look at it the year before that, where he only played 12 games, he had 76, which is a 6.3 targets per game. So, if you multiply that by 16, he's easily above 100 targets. He barely scraped it the last 2 seasons. If you average it out to a 16-game season where he actually plays all the games. But I think an off season with Justin Herbert will only improve it and only allow for more targets to come Hunter Henry's way.
And he might be a good buy low candidate. He's played his whole career in San Diego to LA, so I think most likely he's going to stay. Okay, so Robert Tonyan, kind of out of nowhere last year, but he played all 16 games, 52 catches for 586 yards, and 11 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. I have the over-under here set at 9 touchdowns. Because last year it was maybe just a touchdown reliant option. But what do we think, Jay? Over under 9 touchdowns for Robert Tonyan.
So Ace does a great job of making these questions rather difficult for us, and then just gave me a slam donkey here. There is no shot that he gets that many touchdowns. The one stat I'll leave you guys with is that Aaron Rodgers is amazing, but a 15% touchdown to target ratio is unsustainable. This dude was averaging a 15% touchdown percentage ratio per target. It's just not going to happen. Basically, anytime you drop back, if you threw the ball near Hunter Henry, if you just threw it near him, there was a 15% chance he was catching a touchdown last year. So no, I see that dropping dramatically. It's just a little regression to the mean.
Jay's so off of Tonyan, he actually called him Hunter Henry there. But yeah,
I did.
Yeah, poor Robert Tonyan should have made the Pro Bowl last year. 11 touchdowns is definitely worthy. Evan Engram made it over him. But I don't like his production over the 16 games. He was very touchdown reliant, as you guys mentioned. And so I'm going to take the under on 9 touchdowns. And let's be real, 48. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to throw 48 touchdowns every season. Him throwing 48 of them had a lot to do with why they went to Robert Tonyan. You can only throw so many to Devontae Adams, unfortunately. So I do see a little bit of regression coming. I'm not exactly sure how efficient he'll be going into next year. So under on the 9 touchdowns.
Sidebar: Devontae Adams missed like 2 or 3 games last year, right? So
he did 2, I think, yeah.
2 games, yeah. So even potentially 2 or 3 of those touchdowns goes to Devontae Adams. We're gonna pivot to Mike Gesicki from Miami. He was kind of a big play guy last year. 53 catches for 703 yards and 6 touchdowns. Played 15 games. I have him set right now for 60 receptions over under. Do we think second year of Tua turn the ball over helps bring up this guy's value? Over under 60 receptions though. Go.
I'll take the over on Mike Gesicki. I'm going to go back to something I said last episode. You're always looking to get your quarterback easy completions. Mike Gesicki's great work in the middle of the field. He played a couple games with Ryan Fitzpatrick last year, but last I heard, he's most likely going to be retiring. An offseason with Tua to run the entire offense and kind of get build more rapport with Mike Gesicki will definitely lead to him having over 60 receptions as long as he stays healthy.
Okay, Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under. He hasn't done that at all in his career yet. I'm so sorry, I was muted. Yeah, he hasn't done that at all in his career yet. He had 51 and 53. We don't know. There's been some rumblings about maybe Tua being traded, which, might be good for Mike Gesicki, to be honest, because when he had Ryan Fitzpatrick in there slinging it, it was looking pretty good for him. For me personally, Mike Gesicki's not a season-long guy. Somebody that I targeted fantasy. He's a great run-back option, especially if you're stacking against him. At a low price, you can get him on DK at a low price, and you can make sure that that's another run-back option and pass catcher. And give you some value, and then if he scores a touchdown or two, that's really valuable in DFS. So.
Okay, we're going to pivot to Jonnu Smith from the Tennessee Titans. He caught 41 catches last year for 448 yards and 8 touchdowns. He played 15 games, kind of had a couple injuries, I believe, throughout the season. Over under 7 touchdowns next year. What do you think, Andrew?
I'm going to take the under on Jonnu Smith. I don't really like Tennessee Titans players unless they're named A.J. Brown or at the tight end position. I only like Delanie Walker. He was the last tight end from the Tennessee Titans that I would actually really try and invest in. Jonnu Smith has never really been a high volume guy or a high target guy in Tennessee's offense, and they run the ball a ton. So I think that positive touchdowns we saw are probably be a little bit of regression here. They also like using Anthony Ferkser, their backup tight end in the red zone, a lot. So we'll probably see a bit of a regression in that, especially in targets as well. So I'm going to go under 7 touchdowns for Jonnu Smith.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the under here. He had 8 throughout his first 2 seasons in the league and matched that last year with 8. So just Andrew kind of mentioned it all. There's too many people out there that are scoring touchdowns for the Tennessee Titans, whether that's Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill through the air, on the ground, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, very well may be gone, but they're also looking to bring him back. So there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, and 7 touchdowns is quite a bit. So I'll take the under.
Okay. Evan Engram, as aforementioned by Andrew there, last year he had 63 catches for 654 yards and 1 touchdown. He played all 16 games and scored the 1 time, but this guy was targeted 109 times, so he's a target monster there. What are we thinking? Can he get more than 1 touchdown next year? But I have the over-under right here set for 4. What do we think? What do we think, Jay?
Yeah, so I'll take the over pretty easily. Hopefully Danny Dimes is 100% healthy, because that's been in question the last few years. Any tight end, as you mentioned, seeing 100 targets is going to make some of the top of our list, especially at that position. But just for reference, because we kind of talked about the touchdown to target percentage last season for Robert Tonyan at a whopping 15%. Evan Ingram's was not even 1. It was a 0.9% touchdown to target ratio. So yeah. I see that balancing out for both of those players, where Evan Engram will see an uptick and Robert Tonyan see a pretty sizable downtick in that.
What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll take the over as well here. 1 touchdown through 16 games on 109 targets is just it's just not going to happen again. He'll find the end zone. It's just the way the game goes. You just had a down year, and the pendulum will swing back the other way, and he'll get over 4 touchdowns for sure. Okay,
we're going to switch over to Buffalo native, not the football team, but the city, Rob Gronkowski, out of Tampa Bay, 45 catches last year for 623 yards and 7 touchdowns. He played all 16 games. What do we think? Over under 10 games played. And if you look at his games played throughout his career, it hasn't been so hot. So I put the 10 games there a little low. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I thought something similar to you, where I thought, for some reason, I just thought Rob Gronkowski was this injured guy and then when I just looked, it wasn't the case. So it's pretty easy for me. I'm taking the over. There's only been 2 seasons, and it was those 2 seasons where he had catastrophic injuries, where he did not play at least 10 games. So I'll be taking the over on Gronk playing 10 games. He is a little older. But he's kind of like Brady's secret weapon. Once he needs those tough touchdowns, he gets into the postseason, he throws them out there. He scores 2 touchdowns against my Chiefs in the Super Bowl just because he hates us.
Don't talk about it. Stop talking about it.
Before Andrew answers, I just wanted to also quickly mention, like, maybe he doesn't play next year. So, like, I kind of had that idea in there too. Like, maybe he does retire because he's
pulling a reverse Uno card on us.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, what's your thoughts on Gronk?
Yeah, I think if he's back and he's healthy, he's going to probably play in, barring any sort of injury. Tom Brady's planning on playing every game. I don't think it would sit right with Gronk if his running mate's out there, under center, and he's not out there with him if he's healthy and decides to play. So I'll take the over 10 games played.
Okay. The Washington Football's team, Logan Thomas turned wide tight end from quarterback, 72 catches for 670 yards and 6 touchdowns. This guy pulled in 110 targets last year. He played all 16 games. I could think he could be a PPR monster for someone with that kind of target share. Over under top 5 tight end potential. Can he break the top 5? What do you think, Andrew?
The pride of Virginia Tech, man. I really don't know with Logan Thomas here, dude. He had, he's a journeyman career up until last year, and Washington kind of had him out there because they needed someone. I mean, not necessarily sure who the quarterback's going to be going into next season. So I'm gonna say under on the top 5 tight end. I'm not really looking at anybody at the Washington football team right now. So under top 5 for Logan Thomas.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I'll take the under as well. He's a target monster, as you mentioned, Ace, regardless of who the quarterback was. I did a little research earlier trying to see if maybe it was the Alex Smith effect, because shout out our boy Al Smizzle. He was redacted on his show. Wouldn't even mention the guy's name because of how terrible he was to start the season. And he was actually terrible. Like, we were, his ADOT was super low. It increased as the season went on, but not enough to where I think he's going to be a top 5 guy. This kind of plays into a gentleman we're going to be talking about next, about foreshadowing, and Dallas Goedert, who I already mentioned, who has a very good chance of cracking the top 5. He was the tight end number 4 last year, and that was with Mark Andrews having a down year in his sense, George Kittle being hurt. So I think that it's an under for me on the top 5 tight ends for Logan Thomas.
I'm just getting my 2 cents in there. For some reason, I just believe that this guy can do it. I think it's probably safer to think he's not going to be a top 5 tight end, and maybe he's just a couple years away. But I don't know. I just like the guy, and he played his heart out, and 110 targets, 6 touchdowns. I mean, he kind of had a little bit best of both worlds. So I'm going to buy Logan Thomas, even though I'm not the one buying today. Or we're not even doing a buy or sell today. Buy Logan Thomas. That's on a future show. Okay, so we're changing channels here to the Minnesota's Irv Smith Jr. and this is for Jay. But he probably should be ranked here. As far as fantasy pros, I believe they have him ranked in standard leagues as the 15th projected tight end next year. So last year, stats aren't going to be great, but he was a backup. 30 catches for 365 yards, but 5 touchdowns. So that's a 1-to-6 touchdown to reception rate right there. He played only 13 games, but now he's going to be potentially first on the depth chart. So I have the over/under for his stats at 600 yards receiving. So what do we think, guys? Andrew?
I'm going to go under here. He got over 300 yards last year in 13 games. I did a little bit of research about the guy he's going to be replacing. Kyle Rudolph is no longer on the team after retiring, and he was with the Vikings for 9 total seasons. And during that time, he had a pretty good career. A lot of people rostered him in season-long fantasy for several years. But during that time, Kyle Rudolph averaged under 500 yards receiving in those 9 seasons. So a guy like Irv Smith, finally stepping into a starting role, it'd be hard for me to see him getting over 600 yards, especially with Dalvin Cook in the backfield. I just don't think he's going to see that many targets. So I'll take the under.
Well, I think we might know where Jay's going. Jay, are you buying? Are you over or going on the over here, buddy?
So I'm going to channel my inner Gru from Despicable Me and let you know that this dude's fantasy value is going to go to the moon. Okay. Listen, he's so much more athletic than Kyle Rudolph ever thought that he could be. Right now, in PPR formats on our Fantasy Pros, shout out Fantasy Pros, use Fantasy Pros. They got this one wrong, though. He's tight end 14. He's behind Gronk. He's behind Jonnu Smith. He's behind Mike Gesicki. He's behind Robert Tonyan. I would take him above all of them in a heartbeat. It's not an easy proposition, right? I'm making it sound like a very easy proposition. Just given the offense that he's in, given the quarterback being competent, given the weapons that are on the outside, and Dalvin Cook in the backfield, I think that actually all helps him. There's only so many people you can defend. And with Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen being priorities, that allows for Irv Smith to really work the middle of the field. I know I talk about that all the time with tight ends, but there are some tight ends that are good at it, and there are other tight ends that are not good at it. He's great in the red zone. He's a guy that doesn't really have a problem scoring touchdowns. Now, the one caveat that Andrew did mention is for his career, he only has 676 receiving yards. So I'm asking him to pretty much double up his career. And I think that's more than doable in a full 16-game schedule with an offense like that. So definitely buying Irv Smith in fantasy, and definitely going with the over on that total there.
Okay. Best of the rest. I want you guys to pick one name off of the list I'm about to give you, or just throw one out that's not on this list. Hayden Hurst from Atlanta. Tyler Higbee from the Rams. Right? Rams?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Austin Hooper from Cleveland. Zach Ertz, free agent, so maybe you could make a case for wherever he's going to go. Eric Ebron from Pittsburgh. Blake Jarwin from Dallas, who missed last season. And then Cole Kmet from Chicago.
I was hoping you wouldn't say him.
think we know where Johnny's going.
So, I was hoping you wouldn't say him.
We already opened this jar of pickles. Jay, go for it. Just real quick.
I mean, for me, Cole Kmet is severely undervalued given the role that he could possibly play, right? I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we don't know where Allen Robinson's going to be. He's a free agent next year. We saw his snaps increase ridiculously towards the end of the season when they realized that Jimmy Graham is dusty, because he is dusty, and we need to stop having Jimmy Graham on the field and play Cole Kmet instead. So I'd say Cole Kmet. Another guy who's really interesting, and I didn't really do too much research on this, but just from that list of guys you gave me, Hayden Hurst is another guy who saw a pretty solid target share when the games were competitive with Matt Ryan. I have every inclination that Matt Ryan is going to be the starting quarterback for the Falcons next year. Even if they draft somebody like Justin Fields, I think they give him at least a year or two. Matt Ryan's making so much money over the next few years that you have to stick with him, and that bodes well for Hayden Hurst and his fantasy outlook. So my obvious pick, as you guys know, is Cole Kmet, but I think Hayden Hurst is another strong option from that list. I don't know if he's the best one, but just a strong one.
Andrew, what do you think? Hurst, Higbee, Hooper, Ertz, Ebron, Jarwin, Kmet.
I think the guy I like most is probably Blake Jarwin, coming back to Dallas in the offense. My only issue with them is maybe a lot of too many mouths to go around in Dallas. I probably would have went for Zach Ertz had I known where he's going to be next year, if he's going to be in Philly or somewhere else. But I'll probably say out of this group, Blake Jarwin. I will never take Austin Hooper again, because I had him for 14 weeks last year, and I drop him. No double-digit games, and then 2 double-digit games to finish out the season. So Austin Hooper is out. He's redacted in my book. He's gone.
Now, quick question. I'm sorry, but I know we're running out of time here. But real quick, if I told you Zach Ertz went to the Indianapolis Colts, what does that do for you?
Top 5 tight end. Take a Zach Ertz.
Okay.
I would sell him. I would take. They've tried to feed 3 mouths last year with Mo Alley Cox. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the other 2 names. But I don't know.
Jack Doyle.
Trey Burton and Jack Doyle.
Trey Burton and Jack Doyle. I said the third guy, and you guys said number 1 and 2. No, I would sell. Just because from what I saw last year, I haven't seen Carson Wentz on this team yet. So I would just pessimistically sell. I would buy Zach Ertz on the Buffalo Bills, though. I mean,
let's go.
Starting tight end over there. We do have Blake Jarwin in Buffalo, but he's kind of just a big play goal line tight end for what it's worth. So if I was going to put anybody, Zach Ertz to Buffalo with up and coming star Josh Allen, that would be my pick. If I had to pick between the whole list, I would probably go Blake Jarwin, just because I like the build up to a fantastic potential season. So that'll conclude our fantasy football over under tight end special, and we kind of finished there with the music. So check you guys out. Great job. That was unintentional, I promise. Thank you guys for joining us. We had a blast tonight. If you stuck around for the whole show, type Z in the chat for Zach Ertz, because that might be the only love he gets this year if he doesn't go to a contender. We appreciate you all tuning in. That'll be it for us today here at AJA Sports. Until next time, bye guys.
Later, guys.